Hello. The Divine Code reading for December 1st, pages 353 and 354. We are in the chapter, The Prohibition Against Mating Different Species of Animals. It is forbidden, topic number 3, it is forbidden to cause animals of different species to mate. Even though this is a commandment specifically for Jews, according to the oral tradition, it applies to Gentiles as well. Tractate Sanhedrin 68 teaches that in reference to the verse, Leviticus 19:19, my statutes that you shall observe, you shall not mate your animal with another species. The Torah statutes regarding general laws regarding to the creation are also incumbent upon Gentiles, so that making changes to the original order of creation is universally forbidden. Furthermore, this calls into question the permissibility and scope of modern-day genetic engineering of animals. See topics 8:11 and 8:15 below and footnote 267. So that'd be discussed further on in this chapter. So we're learning from Leviticus, and not that the Jews are told not to, and this is within the context of a bunch of different laws given to the Jewish people, but the Jews are given within these, in Leviticus 19:19, the prohibition of mating species. And that is understood to apply also that Gentiles are also prohibited. Torah does not explicitly give a biological term of species. In biology, F1 hybrid is the term for an offspring that results from the cross-mating of distinctively different parental types. The sages gave many examples of nominally similar types of animals that are either the same or different species in regard to mating. And that'll be in topics 6 and 10 below, further on in this chapter. So it's important to understand that there's a difference. The modern science has certain zoological categories. These zoological categories do not always correspond with the halakhic categories. Therefore, if we're talking about zoology, then we're talking about modern medicine, veterinary medicine and all that, we will be discussing the zoological categories. If we're discussing halakha as Torah law, then we have to go with the halakhic categories that are understood by the sages at the time of the Talmud. That's what applies when we're studying halakha. Is the rabbinic understanding of what kind of animals are what kind of animals. For example, in halakha, a bat is a type of bird. Although there are some distinctions of bats versus other birds, such as laying of eggs, but otherwise they're halakhically, for example, with the prohibition of a limb of a living animal, a bat would be considered a bird. That's halakha. It is forbidden to cause animals of different species to mate, even if the union cannot lead to procreation. See Katan Sofer Yoredea, chapter 297. So the mating of the animals is not directly connected to the ability of the two animals to produce children, to produce baby animals. The prohibition is specifically on the mating. For example, if the two species cannot produce offspring from each other, and obviously if the mating of the two species can in general produce offspring, but the two individuals are physically unable for whatever reason, such as illness, injury, sterilization, or age or young age. This is implied by the verse in Leviticus 19:19. Do not mate your animal with a different species, which instructs that the activity of directly causing copulation itself is forbidden, even if no procreation can occur. So the way that Leviticus 19:19 is worded, it's learned that from the way that it's worded that it is the mating of the two animals that's specifically forbidden. This commandment does not encompass the act of copulation of one male creature with another. That'd be with another, two male creatures being forced upon each other. Although it appears that this violates the prohibition of causing unnecessary suffering to a living creature. And causing copulation of male creatures is not considered to be a form of mating. But nevertheless, it seems to be forbidden since it causes pain or distress to the violated animal. So the prohibition is specifically causing the animals to mate or copulate in the case of two male animals. The causing of it is considered the violation, and it's in the case of two male animals, it would not be under the category of mating, because that would not be considered mating, but rather it would be under the category of causing suffering to an animal, which is also forbidden. It should be noted that in human behavior, in the prohibition against adultery, there's mention of this also, but the prohibition of adultery does not refer to mating. The prohibition of adultery refers to cleaving, and there's a different definition to cleaving that would include the way that two males in that subculture normally behave towards each other would also be considered cleaving, but it would not be considered mating. Therefore, there's a difference between this activity with animals and the activity with humans, the way it's handled halakhically, because there's different dynamics involved with humans. Topic number 4. It is forbidden to cross-mate not only one's own animals, but also those belonging to others, which are ownerless. Concerning others, it's Rambam Laws of Forbidden Mixtures 9:1. Similarly, one may not instruct others to cross-mate animals. This is because it is forbidden for one to cause another to sin, even if it is not his animal. See Torah Kohanim in Leviticus 19:19. So, and this shows also for Gentiles that there's a prohibition of causing another Gentile to sin, and this would have large ramifications beyond just simply this one halakha. The fact that Gentiles are forbidden to cause other Gentiles to sin would have implications throughout the Noahide laws. Topic number 5. The prohibition against cross-mating animals involved in any act that would directly cause their mating, be it inserting the male organ into the female organ, raising the male upon the female, or encouraging them to mate by other means. Parisha and Biur Hagra on Uridea, chapter 297. It is, however, permitted to put males and females of 2 different species in the same enclosure. If they mate on their own accord, one is not obligated to separate them. Rambam, The Laws of Forbidden Mixtures, chapter 9, Shulchan Aruch Uridea on chapter 297. So it's not simply bringing the animals together in an enclosure where it would need to be something that is either physically causing them to mate, or something else that would be leading to that as a normal thing. Normally, animals in the same enclosure, a bunch of farm animals on a farmyard would not necessarily start mating with each other. That would be abnormal. So if it's abnormal, it would be permitted to put the animals together, because it would not be expected for them to do that. So the actual prohibition is on causing the animals to mate in a more direct manner. There are differing rabbinical opinions as to whether it is forbidden to enclose a pair of different species together if it is known that they will certainly cross-mate. For example, introducing a female donkey or mule into the corral of male horses that desire to mate. There's an argument between Baal Halakot Gedolot, who is of the opinion that it is forbidden, and other rabbinic authorities that do not hold this opinion. So logically, if you put the donkey in with the horses, they're liable to mate, and that's just the nature of donkeys and horses. It's forbidden to force it. So the question is, by bringing them together in an enclosure, would it just be assumed that they'll do what they do? Is that part of the violation? And that, apparently, most rabbinic authorities do not think it would be, but there is a reason to think it might be. It might be prohibited. The resolution of the question remains in doubt. So from the onset, it should not be done. So the Divine Code is saying that even though most rabbinic authorities would say it's not a prohibited action to put the animals together, but because it's reasonable to expect the animals to do this on their own, it's best not to put them together. We shouldn't put them together in the same corral. Topic number 6. Even though two different species of animals or beasts appear similar and will be able to generate offspring through their union, it is forbidden to cross-mate them. Thus, it is forbidden to mate a wolf and dog or fox, a kofri, that's a wild dog, such as a hunting dog, and that's the Rambam Prish Hamishnaya on Mishnah Gliam 1:6. Or in other opinions, That's Rabbi Yevediah Mi Bartanura on Mishnah Kaliam 1:6. A small dog that resembles a fox. So there's a question as to whether the wild dog would be a hunting dog or if the wild dog is a smaller dog that resembles a fox. Many of the Hebrew terms that exist in both in the Bible and in the sages' writings, we're not exactly sure which animals are which because they've been forgotten. So unless there's a clear tradition, but otherwise, it's best to be on the cautious side in these regards. A deer and a goat, a mountain sheep and a domestic sheep, a horse and a donkey, a horse and a mule, a donkey and a mule, or a domestic donkey and a wild donkey. Rambam, the Laws of Forbidden Mixtures, Chapter 9, Shulchan Aruch Yoreh Deah, Chapter 1, 197. So that's a long list of the different kind of animals that are considered separate species under the rabbinic, under the sages' understanding of what a species of an animal is, and therefore halachically speaking, we're not allowed to mix these different animals, such as the domestic dog with a wild dog. Thank you.